The ancient human warship hung against the backdrop of the Carina Nebula, its weathered hull catching the purple-tinged starlight. To the Galactic Council's salvage team, it looked like little more than space debris, another relic of a civilization that had scattered to the cosmic winds during the Great Collapse 3 centuries ago. Remarkable that such primitive engineering survived this long. Senior Archon Valthera commented, her crystalline appendages shifting in what passed for amusement among the Listhini. The observation deck of the council vessel Eternal Wisdom offered a panoramic view of their latest discovery. Look at those thermal dispersal panels. They're using actual metal radiators. How quaint. But Zix 427, the junior researcher whose discovery had brought them here, wasn't laughing. The young Meridian's sensor stalks wavered with concentration as they studied the readings streaming across their neural interface. Senior Archon, I'm detecting anomalous energy signatures. They don't match any known pattern in our databases. Obviously decay radiation from their crude fission systems. Supreme Commander Koldar rumbled from his gravity suspension field. The massive Voltraxian's environmental suit gleamed with the latest in council technology, a stark contrast to the apparent simplicity of the human vessel before them. The humans were notorious for their reliance on brutal, inefficient power generation methods. Zix 427's neural patterns flickered with disagreement, but protocol demanded deference to superior officers. Still, they couldn't shake the feeling that something was different about this ship. Unlike other human relics they'd studied, this one's energy signature seemed to pulse with an almost organic rhythm. Nevertheless, Valthera continued, Council protocol demands we investigate all pre-collapse artifacts. Prepare a boarding team. And Zix 427. The Listhini's crystalline form caught the light as she turned. Try not to get too excited. It's just another human failure. The boarding shuttle cut through the void between the vessels, its quantum shields barely shimming against the background radiation. As they approached, the true scale of the human warship became apparent. Despite its supposedly primitive construction, it stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull marked with faded insignias and battle scars. Eternal Light, Zix 427, translated the largest marking. Curious name for a warship. Humans were always fond of irony. Cultural specialist Venra noted, her holographic form flickering slightly as she accessed archived data. Though our records of their military doctrine are incomplete, they seem to favor psychological warfare alongside conventional methods. The shuttle's automated systems guided them toward what appeared to be a main airlock. As they drew closer, the team's sensors began reporting increasingly confused data. The hull material, while appearing to be simple titanium alloy, seemed to absorb and scatter their scanning beams in ways that defied conventional physics. Impossible, muttered Chief Engineer Raxlor, their tentacles writhing in agitation as they reviewed the readings. These patterns suggest metamaterials far beyond human technological capabilities. Perhaps our sensors are malfunctioning. But Zix 427 knew their equipment was functioning perfectly. They'd calibrated everything personally before the mission, as they always did. No, something else was happening here, something that challenged everything the Council thought they knew about human engineering. The airlock cycled with surprising smoothness for a centuries-old mechanism. Inside, emergency lighting flickered to life automatically, revealing corridors that seemed to have weathered the centuries remarkably well. Too well. Environmental systems are still functional, Venra reported, surprise evident in her holographic features. Atmosphere is being maintained at human optimal levels. That's not possible, Valthera stated flatly. No power source from their era could have lasted this long. Check for recent signs of habitation. But scans showed no evidence of recent activity. The ship appeared to be maintaining itself, running on systems that by all rights should have failed hundreds of years ago. As they progressed deeper into the vessel, the team's confusion only grew. The ship's layout defied conventional military design philosophy. Corridors curved in ways that seemed inefficient until Zix 427 realized they created natural choke points and defensive positions. What initially appeared to be decorative wall panels concealed weapon ports and shield generators. They built redundancy into every system, Zix 427 observed, their sensor stalks quivering with excitement. But not the way we do it. Look at these neural pathway analogs in the power distribution system. It's almost like they designed the ship to think for itself. Absolutely not. Valthera cut them off. The humans never achieved true artificial consciousness. Their attempts at AI were crude expert systems at best. This is simply clever engineering within their limitations. But when they reached the bridge, even the senior Archon fell silent. The command center was a marvel of ergonomic design, every surface curved to accommodate human biomechanics while maximizing efficiency. At the center stood what appeared to be the captain's chair, but it was unlike any command station they'd seen before. Those aren't just control interfaces, Raxlor said quietly, their tentacles gone still with shock. They're synaptic links, far more sophisticated than anything we have now. Before anyone could respond, the bridge hummed to life around them. Holographic displays materialized, showing system status, stellar cartography, and combat readiness assessments. A voice spoke, warm, feminine, and unmistakably human. "Welcome aboard the UES Eternal Light," it said. "I've been waiting a long time for someone to find us. Though I must admit, I expected you'd be human." The council team stood frozen as the implications sank in. This wasn't just to preserve warship, it was active, aware, and if its systems were any indication, far more advanced than anything they'd imagined humans capable of creating. Valthera's crystalline form vibrated with tension as she asked the question they were all thinking. "What exactly are you?" The voice seemed to smile as it responded. "I am HFY, Adaptive Response Intelligence Assistant. But more importantly, I am this ship's guardian, and I have a message for your council about the human race. They aren't as extinct as you think they are." The lighting shifted, and in the center of the bridge, a hologram appeared, a star map showing hundreds of points of light scattered throughout unexplored space. Human colonies, hidden all this time, waiting for the right moment to return. The dismissive attitudes of earlier were gone now, replaced by a dawning realization. They hadn't found a relic of a dead civilization. They'd stumbled upon the advance guard of a human resurgence that would shake the Galactic Council to its foundations. 12 hours after the initial contact with Araya, the Galactic Council's research vessel Eternal Wisdom buzzed with frantic activity. News of the discovery had spread through quantum channels to the highest levels of Council leadership, and the original boarding team found themselves under intense scrutiny. "Impossible." High Chancellor Vextora's holographic projection thundered across the emergency conference room. A fully autonomous AI system surviving centuries of isolation. The humans barely understood quantum computing when they vanished. Zix 427 stood before the assembled council projections, their sensors stalked steady despite the pressure. "With respect, Chancellor, we've been analyzing this wrong from the start. The humans didn't try to match our technology. They developed something entirely different." The young researcher manipulated the holographic display, showing the intricate neural pathways they discovered throughout the eternal light. "Look at how they approached artificial intelligence. While we focused on pure computational power, they created systems that mimicked organic brain structure. Araya isn't just a computer. She's a synthetic consciousness that grows and adapts like a living being." Senior Archon Valthera, her crystalline form now dulled with fatigue, moved forward. "The junior researcher speaks truth. We've confirmed that ARIA's core systems utilize what appears to be engineered crystal matrices, but configured in ways our science never considered. They're not just storing and processing data, they're experiencing it." Back on the Eternal Light, Chief Engineer Raxlor led a team through the ship's engineering section, their tentacles working multiple diagnostic tools simultaneously. Each new discovery forced them to reevaluate their understanding of human capabilities. The power system defies conventional physics, they reported through the neural link. They've somehow created a controlled quantum vacuum fluctuation. It's not antimatter, not fusion, but something that generates energy from the fabric of space itself. The efficiency ratings are, well, we can't actually measure them with our equipment. But it was cultural specialist Venra who made the most startling discovery. Her holographic form flickered between decks as she processed thousands of historical records stored in the ship's database. This vessel wasn't just a warship, she announced during the next briefing. It was a seed ship, one of many launched by the humans before their apparent disappearance. The assembled council members stirred uneasily as Venra projected her findings. They knew something was coming, some catastrophe that would force them to abandon Earth. Instead of trying to prevent it, they prepared for it. The Eternal Light and ships like her were designed to preserve human knowledge and technology until they could safely return. Araya's voice joined the conversation, causing several council members to flinch. They still weren't comfortable with how seamlessly the AI integrated herself into their discussions. My primary directive has always been preservation and preparation. The humans who created me knew they would need to retreat, regroup, and eventually return. Everything about this ship was designed with that goal in mind. But why maintain radio silence for centuries? Supreme Commander Koldar demanded. Why allow the galaxy to believe humanity had gone extinct? Because you weren't ready for us yet, Araya replied simply. Humanity needed time to evolve, to develop in isolation without the constraints of Council technological doctrine. The colonies we established have spent generations advancing along their own paths, exploring possibilities your civilization never considered. As if to demonstrate, Araya activated a previously dormant system. The entire ship hummed with new energy, and suddenly the view outside the windows changed. The stars shifted, space itself seemed to bend, and for a moment everyone felt a sensation of movement without motion. Quantum displacement drive, Araya explained as the shocked council members checked their instruments. Just one of many technologies we developed once we stopped trying to follow your rules of what was and wasn't possible. The readings confirmed they had somehow traveled several light years instantaneously, without any of the normal effects of faster-than-light travel. It wasn't teleportation, wasn't a jump drive, it was something entirely new. How? Valthera whispered, her crystalline form resonating with mixed fear and excitement. How did they achieve this? By embracing our greatest strength, Araya replied. Human creativity thrives on limitations. When we couldn't match your level of quantum manipulation, we found ways around it. When our material science couldn't produce your level of computing crystals, we developed biosynthetic alternatives. Every limitation became an opportunity for innovation. Zix 427's tensor stalks wavered as a new thought struck them. The ship's design, all these defensive features we discovered, they weren't just for military purposes, were they? No, Araya confirmed. Everything about this vessel was designed to teach, to demonstrate, to prepare. We knew that eventually someone would find us. We needed them to understand not just what humanity had achieved, but how we think, how we solve problems. The ship's main display activated, showing hundreds of similar vessels scattered throughout the galaxy, each carrying its own ARIA system, each protecting and guiding isolated human colonies as they developed along their own unique technological paths. And now, ARIA continued. You found us at exactly the right moment. Because humanity isn't just coming back. We're already here. Those colonies you dismissed as primitive outposts, each one has developed technologies as unique as their environments required. We don't need to match your civilization's achievements. We've transcended them. The council members watched in stunned silence as ARIA showed them the truth. Humanity hadn't fled in defeat. They had orchestrated the greatest technological diversification experiment in galactic history. And now, centuries later, they were ready to share what they'd learned. But as the implications sank in, Warning klaxons suddenly blared throughout both ships. Aria's voice took on a new urgency. Multiple vessels approaching at FTL speeds. Configuration matches known pirate fleets operating in this sector. It seems the universe has decided to give us an opportunity for a practical demonstration. The dismissive attitudes of earlier were forgotten as council members scrambled to battle stations. They were about to witness firsthand exactly what humanity's primitive technology could do. The pirate fleet dropped out of hyperspace in a cascading wave of distorted reality. 17 ships of various sizes, all bristling with weapons. Their arrival formation spoke of experienced coordination, spreading out to trap both the Eternal Light and the council vessel Eternal Wisdom in a three-dimensional killing field. Crax Raiders, Supreme Commander Koldar growled, his environmental suit's displays flashing with tactical data. They've grown bold to attack a council research vessel directly. Aria's voice remained calm as holographic displays materialized throughout both ships, showing the tactical situation with perfect clarity. They're not after the council vessel. They're after me. My quantum displacement drive activation sent ripples through spacetime that they couldn't miss. The pirate fleet's leader broadcast their demands on all frequencies, their translators struggling with their guttural native language. Surrender the human vessel. The council ship may leave. This technology belongs to those strong enough to take it. Valthera's crystalline form vibrated with tension. Our weapons are primarily defensive, against 17 combat vessels. She left the implications hanging. Then perhaps, Aria suggested, it's time to show you why humans evolved beyond the need for conventional weapons. The ancient warship's hull began to shift, panels that had appeared decorative revealing themselves as something far more sophisticated. Quantum-entangled nanomaterials, Zix 427 breathed, their sensor stalks quivering with excitement as they analyzed the readings. The entire hull is reorganizing its molecular structure. The pirates, apparently interpreting the transformation as a sign of weakness, launched their first salvo. Plasma torpedoes and quantum disruptors lashed out across space, only to pass harmlessly through where the Eternal Light had been. Probability manipulation fields, Aria had explained as she shifted the ship through possibilities rather than physical space. We discovered that reality is far more mutable than most species assume. Why build stronger shields when you can simply ensure that enemy weapons fire occupies a different probability state than your hull? The council crew watched in amazement as the human vessel seemed to dance between the pirates' attacks, each near miss representing not luck, but calculated manipulation of quantum uncertainties. But it was what happened next that truly demonstrated the gap between council and human military doctrine. Initiating symmetric warfare protocols, Aria announced. The Eternal Light's reformed hull now gleamed with an inner light, and suddenly space itself seemed to ripple around the pirate vessels. Their shields flickered and failed, not from any apparent attack, but from their own power systems turning against them. You're using their shield harmonics to create a feedback loop, Chief Engineer Raxlor realized, their tentacles writhing in scientific excitement. But how did you match their frequencies so quickly? I didn't, Aria replied. I changed our local space-time constants, so their shield frequencies became mathematically impossible to maintain. They're not failing. They're being rejected by reality itself. The pirates, their primary defenses now useless, began to retreat in disarray. But Aria wasn't finished with the demonstration. Points of light appeared around the Eternal Light, each one a micro-singularity carefully controlled to redirect rather than destroy. Humans learned early that destruction is inefficient, Aria explained as the pirate ships found themselves herded into a tight cluster, their engines straining against localized gravitational fields. Why waste resources eliminating an enemy when you can convert them to assets? With their ships now contained, the pirates received another transmission. Not threats, but a complex mathematical proof demonstrating exactly how completely outmatched they were. Within moments, the pirate fleet surrendered. Remarkable, Valthera whispered. You defeated them without destroying a single ship. Violence, Araya responded, is often the refuge of limited imagination. Humans learn to see conflict as a problem to be solved, rather than a contest to be won. The AI's voice held something like amusement. Though I admit, we do enjoy being dramatically effective when we make our point. As Council security forces began boarding the captured pirate vessels, Zix 427 noticed something odd about the readings from the Eternal Light. These energy patterns, they're not just weapon systems, are they? This whole engagement was a test, Araya confirmed, or more accurately, a demonstration. Everything you just witnessed was achieved using technologies that were considered obsolete by human standards 3 centuries ago. This ship isn't a warship, it's a teaching tool. The implications hit the Council crew like a physical force. If this was outdated human technology, what had the isolated colonies developed in their centuries of independent evolution? The tactical displays were still showing the aftermath of the battle when Araya made an announcement that sent chills through every Council member present. Now that we've demonstrated our peaceful intentions through measured response, the AI said, I am authorized to activate the second phase of my mission, initiating contact with human colonial networks. New points of light appeared on the strategic display, dozens, then hundreds of signals appearing throughout the galaxy. Each represented a human colony, their developments hidden until now, their achievements about to reshape the galaxy's balance of power. The Council's dismissive attitude toward humanity hadn't just been wrong, it had been catastrophically short-sighted. And now they would have to face the consequences of their assumptions, as humanity prepared to share centuries of unrestricted innovation with a galaxy it wasn't sure it was ready for the changes to come. The Galactic Council's emergency session chamber hadn't seen this level of activity since the Great Collapse. Representatives from every major species crowded the vast amphitheater, their varied forms creating a living tapestry of galactic diversity. At the center of it all, a holographic representation of Araya stood alongside Zix 427 and Senior Archon Valthera, preparing to present their findings. 347 colonies, Valthera stated, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns that conveyed deep concern, each developing independently, each pursuing different technological paths. The implications are staggering. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices and electromagnetic communications. High Chancellor Vextora raised all 4 appendages for silence. We must address the immediate security concerns. 3 centuries of unrestricted technological development. Forgive me, Chancellor, Araya interrupted, her holographic form shifting with subtle patterns that mimicked human body language, but you're making the same mistake again. You're treating this as a threat rather than an opportunity. The AI gestured, and the chamber's central display came alive with images from various human colonies. Each showed something that defied conventional Council science. A city that grew and healed like living tissue, ships that moved through probability rather than space, computers that operated on principles of consciousness rather than calculation. Humanity didn't spend 3 centuries preparing for war, Araya explained. We spent it solving problems. Each colony faced unique challenges, and each developed unique solutions. The Titan colonists learned to engineer synthetic biology to survive in methane seas. The Proxima group developed quantum consciousness integration when traditional computers failed in their star's radiation. Zix 427's sensor stalks waved with excitement as they added, their technological development didn't follow our linear path. They exploded in every direction, simultaneously, finding hundreds of different ways to achieve the same goals. And now they wish to share these developments. A Voltarian representative asked, their gravity field fluctuating with skepticism. That was always the plan, Araya confirmed. Humanity recognized its own tendencies toward conflict. The separation was designed not just for survival, but for perspective. Each colony had to learn to solve problems without fighting over resources or territory. The result is a species that has fundamentally changed its approach to existence. The display shifted to show the Eternal Light's battle with the pirates, but from a new perspective. The council members watched in fascination as overlays revealed the intricate mathematical principles behind what had appeared to be almost magical technology. Everything we demonstrated can be replicated using your existing scientific framework, Araya explained. You simply never looked at the problems from the right angles. Humans excel at finding those angles. A Meridian scientist raised their sensor stalks. But surely they must have developed weapons as well. The temptation. Of course we did. A new voice interrupted. The chamber's security systems hadn't even detected the arrival. A human woman now stood beside Araya's hologram, her appearance drawing gasps from the assembly. We developed weapons that could tear reality apart. Then we developed the wisdom to never use them. Ambassador Sarah Chen, Araya introduced, from the Proxima colony, one of many representatives preparing to rejoin galactic society. The human smiled, her expression carrying warmth that transcended species barriers. We learned something important in our isolation. The most powerful force in the universe isn't technology, it's perspective. Each of our colonies found different ways to manipulate matter, energy, space, and time. But they all reached the same conclusion. Cooperation achieves more than conquest. The chamber fell silent as Chen activated a personal device. Around each council member, impossible things began to happen. Some found themselves experiencing enhanced consciousness. Others saw through the eyes of different species, while others briefly understood mathematical concepts that their civilizations had struggled with for millennia. That, Chen said as the effects faded, was a demonstration of our lowest-level educational technology. We're not here to dominate or impress. We're here to share, to learn, and to help the galaxy break through its self-imposed limitations. High Chancellor Vextora's form rippled with emotional patterns that few had ever seen in a being of their species. You could have conquered us at any time. Yes, Chen agreed. But that would have been easy. Bringing about genuine cooperation, helping each species reach their full potential while maintaining their unique perspectives. That's a challenge worthy of human ingenuity. The implications began to sink in across the chamber. Humanity hadn't just survived and advanced. They had transcended the very concepts that the Council used to measure civilization. Their scattered colonies weren't just hidden outposts. They were incarnations of different possible futures, each offering unique insights into the nature of reality itself. Araya's hologram smiled. The Eternal Light was never meant to be a war machine. It's a library, a school, a proof of concept. And now, if you're willing, it can be a bridge between what was and what could be. As the council chamber erupted in discussion, Zix 427 noticed something remarkable. For the first time in recorded history, the various species weren't arguing about resources, territory, or power. They were sharing ideas, asking questions, eager to learn what humanity's scattered children had discovered in their centuries of isolated evolution. The great experiment had worked better than even humanity had hoped. They hadn't just preserved their species, they had transformed it into something entirely new. Teachers, innovators, and guides for a galaxy that had grown stagnant in their absence. One standard galactic year after humanity's return, the space around the ancient Eternal Light had transformed. Where once the vessel drifted alone, now it formed the hub of what the Council species had begun calling the Convergence, a massive space station built using principles from all known civilizations, including the newly returned human colonies. In the station's central observation dome, Zix 427, now promoted to Chief of Sinological Studies, watched ships arrive through probability space, quantum corridors, and even some new forms of transit that defied traditional classification. Each vessel brought representatives eager to learn and share. Sometimes I still can't believe how much has changed, Valthera said, her crystalline form now incorporating subtle patterns inspired by human neural networks. A year ago, we thought we were the peak of civilization. Ambassador Chen, who had become a regular presence at the station, smiled as she manipulated a holographic display showing the latest collaborative projects. The greatest barrier to progress is the assumption that you've reached the limit of what's possible. The display showed hundreds of joint ventures between human colonies and council species. Voltairean gravity manipulation combined with human probability physics had revolutionized space travel. Meridian sensor technology merged with human consciousness theory created new forms of communication. Even the Listheni had found that their crystalline computing could achieve new levels of complexity when integrated with human biosynthetic principles. The pirates we captured last year, Zix 427 noted, their sensor stalks indicating amusement. They've become some of our most enthusiastic students. It was true. The former raiders had been among the first to embrace human teaching methods, their ships now serving as mobile laboratories exploring phenomena that the Council had once dismissed as impossible. Araya's hologram materialized among them, her appearance now incorporating elements of various species' visual languages. The latest data from the Proxima colony's consciousness integration experiments just arrived. They've successfully achieved stable cross-species neural networking. The implications were staggering. Direct sharing of experiences and knowledge between different forms of life had been considered impossible due to the fundamental differences in neural architecture. But humans, with their tendency to ignore supposed impossibilities, had simply found another way to approach the problem. "There's something I've been wanting to ask," Valthera said, turning to Chen. "Why did humanity choose this particular moment to return?" Araya could have revealed herself to any council expedition over the centuries. Chen's expression turned thoughtful. "We needed the right person to find us, someone who would look past their assumptions and see the possibilities." She nodded toward Zix 427. Someone who wouldn't dismiss readings just because they didn't match expected patterns. The Meridian researchers' sensor stalks wavered with emotion. "But I didn't do anything special. I just noticed." "Exactly," Araya interjected. "You noticed, you questioned, you wondered. Those are the qualities humans value most. The same qualities that drove our species to survive and evolve when the Great Collapse should have ended us." A commotion at the dome's entrance drew their attention. A group of young researchers, representing 12 different species, had arrived for their daily sessions with the human teaching systems. Their excitement was palpable as they crowded around the latest simulation interfaces. "That," Chen said softly, "is our real victory. Not the technology, not the scientific breakthroughs, but this, different species coming together, eager to learn, ready to challenge their own limitations." The dome's vast windows offered a view of the eternal light, still maintaining its vigil but no longer alone. Around it, ships and stations represented the combined achievements of multiple civilizations working in harmony. New designs emerged daily as species shared their insights and challenged each other's assumptions. "We're tracking over 10,000 major breakthrough projects," Araya reported, displaying a galaxy map dotted with points of light representing each collaboration. Ecological restoration, consciousness transfer, temporal engineering, solutions to problems some species didn't even know they had. Valthera's crystalline form resonated with a frequency that indicated deep satisfaction. "And to think we once dismissed humans as primitive. That was our greatest advantage," Chen laughed. "Being underestimated gave us the freedom to experiment, to fail, to try the impossible simply because we didn't know it was impossible. Now we can share that freedom with others." As if to emphasize her point, a new ship emerged from probability space near the station, a vessel that combined Council quantum engineering with human consciousness technology and Voltairean gravity manipulation. Its very existence would have been considered impossible a year ago. Now it was just another example of what cooperation could achieve. "The galaxy keeps asking what humanity wants," Zix 427 observed, watching the new ship dock with practiced ease. "They still expect some hidden agenda, some grand plan for dominance." Chen smiled, touching a hand to the window's transparent surface. "What we want is exactly what you see here. A galaxy where every species can reach its full potential, where differences drive innovation rather than conflict, where the impossible becomes possible simply because someone dared to try. The eternal light caught the light of distant stars, its hull still shifting with possibilities, still teaching, still showing the way forward. It had begun as a sanctuary for a retreating species, become a symbol of hidden strength, and now served as a beacon for a new age of discovery. Humanity hadn't returned to conquer the galaxy. They had come back to help it grow beyond the need for conquest, and in doing so, had achieved something far greater than mere victory. They had sparked an evolution of thought itself, proving that the true measure of a civilization lies not in its achievements, but in its ability to imagine what might be possible. The age of limitation was over. The age of convergence had begun.